What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of the 49 Carats podcast. I'm your host, Steph, and today I am joined by Grant Cohn. You all love him. Well, I don't know about love, but you all know who he is. And I am so happy to have him on the channel today. How you doing, Grant?
It's great to be back. I feel like we're practically KTVU colleagues. KTVU has the best taste, so they invite you and I on the show. And it was funny. Last time I was there, they had me on twice. The first time, it was like 2 weeks ago before the Seattle game. 30 seconds before we were live, Sal Castaneda turns to me and goes, "Look, I just want you to know, when I said that, what did he say? When I said you were out there, I meant it in a good way. I said it in a good way." I was like, "Sal, I love you." Sal, it was so funny. Anyway, that's an inside joke.
Yeah, no, I think he appreciated your take, and he was like, he wanted me to be like you a little bit, like just say what you're feeling, because like we'll talk like right before we go live, and I'll I won't sugarcoat it, but on TV I try to be a little more.
He thought I was mad though. He was like, "When I said out there, I didn't mean." I was like, "Sal, come on, you're my dog."
Yeah, Sal's our boy, and if he does check us out, we love you.
We love you.
we're
love
never
you.
mad. Never mad.
Never.
But Grant, so the last time you were on the pod, the 49ers were 4-4. It was their bye week. They had just beat the Rams for the second time this season. And
I was saying how much I hated the Christian McCaffrey trade, right? I'm thinking if I can remember, what were we talking about? How bad they were, how down I was on Kyle, how much that trade was terrible, things like that.
I don't recall. I might have skipped over the part where you said you didn't like the trade, but we did talk about like the lack of identity this team had in the first half, all of the injuries. They started off very slow, and how we just wanted to see more from this team, more consistency. Like that's kind of what we kept going back to. Did we know. Yeah,
12 wins later.
We know this team was going to go undefeated from that point on, and so I'd say that's pretty consistent on the road.
They took our advice. We said stop losing, don't lose any more games, and they did. It's great.
Our minds. But what do you think like really clicked for this team since that point? Was it just Christian McCaffrey unlocking like a different gear to this team, or was it bigger than just one player? You think?
I think it was bigger than one player. Like Christian McCaffrey came in and all of a sudden, I think this team I think it's a great team. They've been on the doorstep for like 4 years. And I think what happened the first month of the year, there were excuses, but it was almost like, what the hell was that, guys? It felt like maybe, they didn't play their guys in preseason, and there wasn't a clear-cut identity of what they were trying to do on offense with Trey Lance, and they were kind of trying to feel it out, and George Kittle was hurt. So they had a lot of excuses, but it felt like the first month and a half was kind of throwaway. And then all of a sudden, they caught their stride, and it was like, okay, this is the team that everyone picked to win the NFC, and now they're there. But, the reason they're playing in Philly is because they messed around. Or I don't know what you want to call what they did the first month and a half of the season, but there were injuries. I feel like it's kind of the 49ers formula. Like, go light in training camp, go light in preseason. Don't get injured before the games. So the injuries, it's like your choice is get injured in preseason or at training camp, or get injured the first 4 weeks of the season. Like, they take that and they try to like rally at the bye week, and it works. Right. It's worked 2 years in a row, so I can't knock them for it.
Yeah, let's hope their bye week is maybe a little earlier so they can get things going a little earlier. But George Kittle, he was on the Pat McAfee show yesterday, and he kind of alluded to that too, like how they started the season kind of slow. He talked about the fact that, like, with Trey Lance, they kind of did have to learn some different things, be a different type of offense in a way.
Be more like Philly.
Like to fit Lance's strengths. It's not an entirely different offense, but it is kind of and then having to adjust back to everything they were trying to do with Lance, back to Jimmy Garoppolo, and they got their stride, of course, after that. But yeah, I get it now. I think there was a lot of adjustments to that, along with like the injuries as we talked about. But obviously, this win streak did start with Jimmy Garoppolo at quarterback. Brock Purdy has defied all odds and has kept this team rolling. And I tend to think there's plenty that Brock Purdy is doing that Jimmy Garoppolo just wouldn't. Like looking downfield first, always going through his progressions. he's shown that ability to escape the pocket. He's pretty agile for a quarterback, so he won't get in those 3rd and long situations because for the most part, he is pretty good at avoiding those sacks. So this is the most well-rested I think I've seen Kyle Shanahan. I don't know about you, but he just looks like he's getting sleep these days. And I think it's because he finally has a quarterback that he has full trust in.
Yeah, it's like he almost trusts Brock too much. He came out passing against Dallas, and like Juszczyk said that the players had to go up to their position coaches and to Kyle directly and say, "Hey, can we run the ball, please?" And it's like they never would have had to say that with Jimmy Garoppolo at the quarterback because Kyle didn't trust him. But now, like, Kyle loves Brock Purdy. And I don't know what – I mean, I think it's – Brock Purdy is an extension of his ego in a sense. No offense, but it's like, look what I can do with the last pick in the draft. You know what I mean? It's like too tempting, and it's right up Kyle's – yeah, it's totally showing off. It's like him doing his, like, guitar solo. Like, it's like, dude, you can just play the few chords that we do and play the hits, and we'll win. Come on, chill. It's not about you, it's about us. And I think that's what they had to tell him. But yeah, what were you talking about? Brock? What makes him? So you said he kept the team rolling. I think he elevated it. And I think the one thing that he does really, really super well that maybe people don't give him enough credit for is extending plays and then making plays. Not just getting away from the pass rush, but not just so he could throw the ball away, which like Alex Smith could do. Like getting away from the pass rush and then setting his feet and then seeing George Kittle way on the other side who's not even in the progression and then hitting him. Like that was a game-changing explosive play that he kind of him and Kittle created. Mm-hmm. Two great, I mean, I don't know. So to me, that's what kind of elevates him from like game manager with a questionable skill set to playmaker and borderline like top 15 starting quarterback in the league right now.
Yeah. Oh, I agree.
Right now. Yeah.
I mean, the stats back it up. If you look at what he's done since he became the starter, he is first in a number of categories actually among quarterbacks. So it has been pretty impressive. But despite all that, like there's a lot of people who talk about Purdy being a product of Shanahan and this offense. And, well, of course he's going to look this good. For one, I think this is the best that we've seen any 49ers quarterback operate this offense, right?
No question.
I think you can make the argument that Purdy is helping Shanahan out a little bit as well, right? Like that's probably not talked about enough.
They're helping
Shanahan,
each other.
I believe, exactly. Shanahan earlier this week, he said that every week it gets easier and easier to call plays for Brock Purdy. And I think it goes back to the trust factor, the fact that Purdy can do these little things, these extra little things that, weren't available to Shanahan before necessarily. So I think that's the difference with this offense right now.
I mean, you saw how much pressure Brock Purdy was under in this game against Dallas. I mean, he didn't get sacked that much. He didn't like dice him up under pressure, but he didn't make it worse. He got away from negative plays. He didn't turn the ball over. And he's a rookie. I mean, forget that he's the last pick in the draft, whatever. He's a freaking rookie. And what he's doing is like never, ever, 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 ever been done before. So yeah, Kyle's helping him for sure. So is Kittle. So is the whole team. But I don't think you can really minimize what Brock Purdy's doing. It's unprecedented.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Well, on the topic of Kyle though, and how like he has kind of he has this freedom with Purdy. I guess he told Greg Olsen before the Cowboys game that he was going to be conservative in that game against Dallas.
Well, he was. I mean, he went for field goals a lot. They ended with 19 points. And when we asked him after the game, we were like, 19 points? I mean, what happened? He was like, well, it's kind of the game we were expecting. Oh, okay. Well, you won.
It's like, well, could have you scored more points and just settled, or like what?
It's almost like he was like, "Look, it's Dak. We just needed to score 19. Come on, it's freaking Dak. We knew that he was going to lose the game. We just had to not lose it ourselves." And you'd be like, "Okay, fair enough. All right, fair enough."
That's true because, again, Brock Purdy didn't throw any touchdowns, but he also didn't throw any interceptions. That's really all they needed to win this game is just play a safe game, really. And so. Thinking about the fact that the Cowboys, they have a good defense. So if they wanted to go conservative against them because of that, I mean, I can understand that. But you also have You're
Can't
going up
do it this
against
week.
now that
Can't
exactly. You're going up against the
it.
Eagles, who have a better defense.
They won't beat
And
themselves.
a better offense. Exactly.
They won't beat themselves. Yeah.
So
Dallas will beat themselves for sure. Yep.
What version of Kyle can we expect? Like, do you think there's any chance that he was like saving some plays because he knew that if he got to this point against the Eagles, he would have to, throw the kitchen sink at him to possibly win?
I don't know. It's hard to. I'm going to try to get in his head, but to me, the game comes down to him. And I think what's interesting is going into last week's game, everyone's like, "Well, how's Brock going to do? How's Brock going to do?" The question was how Kyle's going to do. And Kyle messed up in the first half. Brock was running for his life. He was under pressure. He had no run game. And the vets on the team had to go to Kyle and be like, "Dude, can we just line up and run? Can we impose our will on that team?" And Kyle's like, "Cool." To his credit, absolutely, yeah, I trust you guys. And they did it. But Kyle, and this, to his credit, he adjusts. But his problem is that he's so good and he knows it. And his ego is a little too big. And he comes out and wants to, I don't know what it was. Did he want to trick Dan Quinn? Did he want to show off to Dan Quinn? Did he want to show off to the world? Let me show you what I can do. Let me make it about me right now in my play design, when it's a bunch of tricky, cute stuff. It's a bunch of tricky, cute stuff, and you're better than Dallas, and you could just take it to him, and then you do eventually. And so it's not about Kyle. It's not about Kyle. It has to be about the team and what they do best, not what makes him look smartest. And I think that's most of those times it's a Venn diagram that go together. Like, what makes Kyle look the smartest is what makes the Niners the best. But sometimes they don't overlap, like that first half against Dallas. So as long as he's tuned into what his team does best against that team, they could win. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just question Kyle's mindset at the most pressurized moments when the season comes down to it. Because frankly, he's 0 for 3. But this is his time to redeem himself. I mean, how many times did Michael Jordan lose to the Pistons before he finally beat him? This is Kyle's time. You can do it. We believe in you.
I feel like every year he gets a little bit better with it.
That's fair.
More confident, and just like, because in the past I feel like he tries to do too much, where he plays outside of his own game and what the 49ers, outside of their own identity.
And he crumbles in the second half. This time he redeemed himself in the second half.
This whole team has been awesome.
Yeah, in the second half.
And the adjustments that they've made. George Kittle, I think, mentioned the fact that, maybe we should just score some more points in the first half or early in the game, and we wouldn't be in these tight situations at the end where we have to make like a miracle play or something like that. What do you take with that? Because you pointed out the fact that they settled for field goals early. Maybe that was kind of the the plan, but I mean, they can't do that again, right? So,
yeah. I feel like there was a streak where the Niners were on where they were just obliterating teams from the moment the game started, except for not the Miami one because they gave up a 70-yard touchdown on the first play, but like Tampa. Tampa was never in that game. But then I feel like since then, the Niners have been doing just enough to win. Yeah. Just enough. And then pretty much, so like that's not going to, you can't do that this week. It's Philly. You're on the road. It's your fault that you're on the road. They're at least as good as you. You got to take them seriously. I mean, the fact that the Niners are 2.5-point underdogs on the road against a team with a better record is really just a testament to how much people respect the 49ers. It's kind of a pick 'em game. So the Niners have to have a better effort than they did last week. They got to be better on special teams. They got to be way better on offense. The run game's on Kyle. You have all the pieces you want. Like, you got to find something that works and make it work, because it can't come all down to Brock Purdy running around being Fran Tarkenton. Like, that's not the formula to beating Philly. It's the formula to beating Dallas, I guess, and Seattle, but not this week. But I think we feel like Kyle's going to rise to the occasion, right? He's really good. He's the coach of the year. He's freaking coach of the year, right?
I think he should get the nod for that. But yeah,
I think he's going to. I think he's going to.
We'll see what happens in this game, because it's pretty much the two best coaches duking it out at this point. But I feel like Kyle is maybe just wanted to show that, okay, he wants to pass with Purdy, because maybe he's just trying to set that up, the Eagles, to think that, okay, they're passing more. We don't have to worry as much about them running the football. So I don't know if that's
possible. I think he's trying to play mind games with them with this Christian McCaffrey stuff, not practicing him. Like McCaffrey's going to play. Like, what are we doing here?
I mean, he said 100 or 0%. the chance that he would not play,
Yeah.
right? So he's definitely going to be out there. But at this point in the game, when everything is so tight and you're just as good as the other team, you kind of got to pull out all the stops and this extra.
I think they are. But
extra
real quick,
mind
like
game.
let's put our minds in ourselves in the mind of the Eagles defensive coordinator. I mean, wouldn't you stack the box? You know the Niners want to run the ball on you. And like, are you that scared of Brock Purdy? Like, no offense, but he's not the biggest quarterback. He doesn't have the strongest arm. I mean, he's not like just going to dice you up way down the field. Can't you feel pretty good with Darius Slay and James Bradbury feeling like I'm going to pull my safeties up, load the box, and kind of dare the Niners to take shots down the field? Like, I want you to.
I mean, they could do it. They have the talent. Right?
Yeah. And maybe Brock will burn him, but like, wouldn't you kind of want to see him do it before you just like play back on him? I don't know. I feel like I don't think the Eagles are just going to let the Niners come out and run right away like Dallas didn't.
I mean, no team has.
No
I
one's
feel
going
like
to.
that's always the thought process that, oh, this is going to be the game that the 49ers are going to be able to run the football. And then, they come out trying to run and then they get kind of stifled.
It's hard. Yeah, it's really hard. You got 5-6 dudes on the line. Like every team since the Niners were just running through them with Raheem Mostert 3 years ago are like, okay, so the first thing we have to do with the Niners is stop the run. Check one. Like you have to do that. And that's a lot of times why Jimmy Garoppolo and Brock Purdy have had some wide open guys and some great numbers is because teams are selling out to stop the run. But what's great about what makes Philly so tough is I don't know if they really have to sell out to do anything. I mean, they're kind of like the Niners. They're just really good.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, if you had to think about one way that the 49ers on offense could kind of exploit this Eagles defense, like, is there even any way? Like, 'cause I'm thinking you gotta protect Brock Purdy. That's one, which is easier said than done. I was encouraged by what the 49ers offensive line did against the Cowboys, only giving up 2 sacks against that team. Now, the Eagles, way better at sack rate than the Cowboys are. Best team getting sacks. But I was encouraged. So we'll see. But I also think there's some things that Shanahan could do to help Brock Purdy out, right? And keep him upright in this game. Maybe get some quick throws going, things like that. Is there anything that you think, the 49ers could take advantage of?
Well, I mean, it's like obviously the go-to answer is, hey, run the ball. But as Trent Williams said today, we just talked about, it's not going to be that easy right away. Like they're expecting it. So you could say, well, hey, play action, take shots down the field. Well, that involves Mike McGlinchey blocking Hassan Reddick for 3 seconds. I mean, that's kind of dangerous too, especially early in the game. That could lead to turnover, sacks, big plays. So it's funny. Philly is the RPO team. They've been doing it for a long time. And what's interesting about the RPO is it's not a big play. You're not going to get chunk plays from it. It's just kind of like a 10-yard throw over the middle or whatever. But it might work. If you might want to RPO the RPO team, because if they're going to like sell out to stop the run, well, then you can kind of use that against them and like get some easy slants to Brandon Ayuk on the backside, like some fake tosses, quick throw. Like if they're going to be like triggering to stop the run use that against him, get some real quick throws, get him to back off and then run the ball. Like Kyle, I feel like Andy Reid did that to the Niners. Remember, the Niners used to be the jet sweep team, but they don't really do it anymore. And I don't know why. And Andy Reid came in here and like, remember that stuff you guys used to do? I'm going to show you guys how to do it. And he scored a bunch of touchdowns. The Niners could do that. Like, they like to, they're known for their RPOs. Like, let me show Nick Sirianni how it's freaking done. Coach of the year right here, baby. I don't know. Be one thing. Quick throws. You got to get the ball out of his hands. You got to get some yak.
Yep. Yeah. And that's why, like, I did my preview earlier this morning for the 49ers offense, and I was like, this could set up to be a big game potentially for Deebo Samuel, because one, he's really good against zone coverages. The Eagles corners play zone about 60% of the time. So that could be an opportunity right there. I mean, their linebackers, while they're still very good, maybe that's one area you want to be able to attack. George Kittle as well. I mean, we talked about the chemistry that he has with Purdy. I mean, that could be a matchup that you like in this game. I mean, the thing is, it's so hard to defend everyone on this 49ers team. Yeah, the Eagles are probably best equipped to do it, but someone's going to have a one-on-one matchup, right? It's, at some point. So that's what you can take advantage of.
And leverage the fact that there's multiple threats. Like, use misdirection. There was a play I forget which game it was, but it was as simple as fake toss to the right to McCaffrey, quick throw back to Ray McLeod screen. Mm-hmm. I mean, what was that, the Raider game? I went for like 50 yards. It was so obvious and so easy. Of course, if you fake that toss to McCaffrey or Debo, the defense is going to jump that way, and they're not going to be thinking about Ray McLeod. Like, you need to do stuff like that. I think one of the reasons the run game wasn't working early in the game was you had, first of all, you're just running Christian McCaffrey into a wall between the tackles. And second of all, you're having Juszczyk lead the way. So essentially, as a defense, it's like, well, if Juszczyk's going to lead me to the ball carrier, don't do that. Use misdirection. I think the Niners have the ability to really get these guys, get their heads spinning if they do it correctly. They've done it before.
Yeah, and that's what I think. Like, they can, now that they've shown that, they can use Juice as a decoy and have the defense going that way. And that's a great way also to neutralize an overly aggressive defense, which I think the Eagles are going to come out. They're going to be super aggressive. So that's one way to do it.
They're like the Niners. Exactly. Absolutely. Because what the Eagles are going to do to slow down the Niners is zone read, RPO, assignment football, who has the ball, all that. And that's smart. That's exactly that's what the Eagles do to the Niners. And that's what the Niners can do. I mean, the Niners aren't that kind of team without Trey Lance, but there are other ways that they can sort of play misdirection RPO football with Brock Purdy. I think it would be smart. Otherwise, you're asking your offensive line to really like step it up, and in ways I don't know that they can.
Yeah, exactly.
Spencer Burford against Hargrave, that's rough. Sorry.
I mean, this entire Philly defensive line is dangerous. So yeah, you got to take the game out of the offensive line's hands and maybe even Brock Purdy's hands. Like, just get the ball out quickly to one of your playmakers and have them do the rest, because everything is going to have to be earned. Every single yard, every single score.
Get the ball to Ray. Get the ball to Juwan. Don't forget about the dirty work guys that have been playing well all year.
I like Juwan. Juwan's one of those guys. I don't know about Ray.
Yes.
But Juwan definitely.
I feel like Ray at the end of the season when Debo was out, like took Debo's role and did a great job. I thought he did a great job.
He didn't get the ball a whole lot. He wasn't getting a lot of targets, but when he did, he made the most. He definitely, he definitely.
Yeah. I feel like the kind of guy who's like, okay, if you do that with like your 2 touches a game, I'll give you 3. But instead, it's like, see you next year, Ray. Like, wait, whatever.
I mean, that could be one of those things where like, okay, they'll at least expect this.
So hell yeah, that's why it works. Try it.
But at the same time, it's like
the last time he got a carry. The last time he got a carry, it was like 60 yards. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it was good. I mean, but it's like one of those things where, like, if Ray were to make a mistake, then everyone's blaming Kyle. Like, how could you have?
Why does he have the ball? Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Grant, you know damn well you'd be one of the first writing on Twitter. Like, why would you run that with Ray instead of?
Yeah, but at the same time, I know there's so much footage of me being like, "Give the ball to Ray," that I'd have to be kind of careful with that. There are receipts for days on me contradicting myself, so I need to probably be careful with that.
All right, so you're Ray Hive. Okay,
I'm Ray. I'm a team Ray.
Team Ray. Okay, yeah, because I have people in the comments all the time like, when is Jordan Mason gonna get more carries? When is Danny Gray gonna get an opportunity? It's like, I mean,
don't hold your breath with Danny Gray.
No, I know. I agree. I tell people all the time, maybe Jordan Mason could get some extra carries in this one. I don't know, because like Elijah Mitchell dealing with a groin injury, he'll probably play, right? We talked about the fact that Christian McCaffrey is going to play, but I don't know. I don't know. There's just so many playmakers on this team.
My question really is Elijah Mitchell. My question is Elijah Mitchell. I think Christian McCaffrey's going to play, but Mitchell can't stay healthy, man.
And a groin injury, those
that's not good.
Re-aggravate those linger.
And he hasn't really looked that great the last couple of weeks. Like, can we get Mason back out there? He's looked great all year.
When he came back from, what was it, the MCL sprain? The first time, I thought that he looked great when he came back from that. But then after the second injury that he had, since he's come back from that one, he has looked a little slower. But still effective. I mean, still a pretty good 1-2 punch, but not what he was bringing you in.
It feels like he's just kind of like trying to play because it's the end of the year, and I respect it. But at the same time, like, Jordan Mason looks 100% and really, really freaking good. So thank you, Elijah. But Jordan, JP, you're up.
Mariah says over under Jordan Mason 2 touches. I go with under on that.
I'm gonna go with under. I just feel like this could be a game where Debo gets a lot of carries. I think Steph said it.
So.
She's not trusting anyone but the top 5 big guys with the ball in this game. You know, he's not gonna let Ray fumble it on offense in this game. Not gonna let it happen. Yeah.
Right. And like, I mean, Debo is one of those guys in the playoffs. Like he's gonna turn it up so he can make a play, big play, score from anywhere kind of guy. So I would give. I hope so. I
didn't think he looked that great against Dallas. I thought he looked better against Seattle.
Yeah, I thought he'd look better against Dallas, but because again, Dallas also plays a lot of zone, and I think he had like 40-ish yards, something like that.
Who needs to step up in this game, from your opinion?
I would say I don't think they need to step up, but I think they need to get the ball more. Brandon Ayuk.
Okay.
I think he's a guy who is able to get open even when he doesn't get the ball. He's been pretty clutch as far as, most of his catches these last few weeks have gone for first downs. So he's those guys. He's the kind of guy who's going to help you move the chains. I think he needs the ball more. But he's just
tough
not
matchup.
Tough
matchup this week.
Well, absolutely. Yeah. It's going to be a tough one. I'm assuming he'll draw Bradbury this game.
And he can win that matchup. He could definitely win that matchup.
At least a few times.
Yeah, for sure. He's really good. Yeah.
He's really good. But again, will Brock Purdy have the time, the patience to wait for those routes to develop?
That's a good question.
And that's what usually I think what it is, right? Like maybe he doesn't always have the time to wait for Ayuk to get open. Of course, sometimes there's examples where he does get open and he just doesn't get the ball, right? I believe that happened with Debo last week too. I think
that's true. That's true.
Play, so.
Yeah, he has to get that. I'm guessing Kyle's going to do a lot of moving the pocket. That's another thing you didn't do much with Jimmy Garoppolo. A lot of like play action, fake toss, roll out right, roll out left. From a bunch of different formations, because you can't just if they get in a game where they're down 14-0 and he has to drop straight back and close that deficit, he probably won't. He probably won't against the Eagles. So he has to they have to keep it close and they have to do all that pocket movement, rollout stuff. I don't know what we were talking about, but it just came to my head. Like that's good. I know Kyle's going to do that. Him and his dad have been doing that for a long time. He just didn't do it with Jimmy because he couldn't.
Right. I did see something though that the Eagles are one of the best teams defending against play action.
Yikes.
So big yikes. So that could be,
and the Niners aren't the best at defending RPOs and zone reads. Big yikes. It's a tough matchup.
It is.
But here's the thing. So I'm talking about who's going to step up. Like to me last week, Kittle stepped up.
Yes.
Like that was, I mean, it was a legendary George Kittle performance. Fred Warner stepped up. 2 of their best games of their careers.
Oh man.
And it's like, which of these team leaders are going to have some of the best games of their careers on Sunday? I'd like to see Nick Bosa. No offense, Nick Bosa's a great player, but I'd love to see.
That's a good one. You know what I mean? I was thinking offense, but that's a great one. And
he's due.
He is.
No offense.
It's not even the fact that he hasn't been playing well, because if you watch all 22, he's been disruptive. He's been forcing early throws, which often turn into incompletions, often turn into interceptions. But we're due Nick Bosa back, right? And
like a legendary Nick Bosa game. I think yes. So who else? Debo. I think Debo's due. I think McCaffrey. Those 3: Bosa, Debo, McCaffrey. Those guys are due for some big games. Ayuk too, of course, but like these are guys that I named that are making, even the 2, McCaffrey and Debo, they're making huge money. And I know McCaffrey's already validated the trade, but they got him for now. This is when they got him for. So if there's something else he could, if there are some reserves that he could tap into, it's time.
Yeah, on the topic of Debo, I feel like the 49ers just aren't doing. They're not running the same kind of plays for Debo that they were last season. Part of it is because, they don't need to. They have Christian McCaffrey to run some of those plays. But I feel like at this point, defenses are so keyed in on those plays going to Christian McCaffrey that, okay, you can kind of probably counter a little bit and have Debo take those because it worked a lot last season. So I would like to see some end arounds, those jet sweeps for Debo in this game, but when
was the last time they ran a jet sweep for Ayuk or Debo? Like week 1? Those were good plays.
It was definitely
or even jet sweep motion. Whatever happened to that stuff?
Yeah, I like when Ayuk, got those because again, it's not what defenses are expecting, but also like the blocking has to be on point. Blocking has to be on point for those plays. I know last week against the Cowboys, they tried to get some screens going, and those just got blown up right away, which I would expect probably more of the same against the Eagles. But you got to just be able to have the block and be on point for some of those plays to be successful, especially against this Eagles team. So it's going to be tough.
One more guy who needs to step up. Eric Armstead. Eric Armstead has the ability to be the best player on the field. We've seen him take over games. He got hurt this year. He's been trying to get back into football shape, and I'm sure he's not quite, where he was last year. But if he could have like a vintage Eric Armstead takes over type of game, wow, that would change things. And I'm listening to people who have the ability to give more. And I think like Armstead is like almost like a sleeping giant right now. He hasn't he's been good against the run. Not a bad player, but like a take over the game type of performance. If he could do that, then the Niners win. He's that kind of player.
Because that's another guy who, never really going to show up on the stat sheet, but he does make an impact, on the games more often than...
Sometimes he shows up in the stat sheet. Sometimes it could be this time.
It could be this time. Hopefully.
Yeah.
They need that, right? Definitely, for sure. I mean, Jalen Hurts presents a very difficult matchup for this game. Thank you for the donation, Double B Studio. He says, "Que pasa, my friends? What's up?" And I also have to... go to this comment real quick because Ahmed50 has been asking this since we've gone live, I think. He said, Grant, do you think 49ers should extend Bosa?
Yeah, I think so. I don't see why. I mean, it's a little scary because he is going to get quarterback money. It's going to be mostly guaranteed. It's going to be a big commitment.
But you know who's not getting quarterback money? Quarterbacks.
Exactly. So it seems to me like this is something that you can afford. Better to spend this much money on Nick Bosa than even more money on a quarterback such as Dak, who's not as good a player as Bosa. And even if I think like the danger of spending on a good quarterback is what if he could lose all trade value real quick. Like no one's trading for Dak, but if you pay market value for Bosa, he doesn't lose his value. That's a good investment. Teams are still going to want Nick Bosa if something happens. And plus, it seems like he's the kind of pro that you can bank on being consistent. The only question with him was, injuries. And so far, he's been basically healthy 2 years in a row. So as long as they have $900,000 quarterbacks, why not? Why not?
Yeah, I mean, they'll have two cheap quarterbacks, right, next season if they keep Purdy. And if they keep Lance, of course they keep Purdy, but I know everyone's talking about Trey Lance, so where's he going to go? I don't think he gets traded anywhere, to be honest, but that's just
probably not. Someone said that, what was it? Mike Silver said that his trade value right now would be a third rounder at best, which I don't know if he's correct, but I could see it because frankly, he hasn't played in like 3 years. And any team that wants a quarterback would think, should I spend a first or second round pick on Trey or someone who's like younger and played last year? So I could see it. And then are you just going to trade low for what? Someone who might not even be a starter on your team? Like if you think Trey has the potential to be a starter, just say, hey, we got 2 starters.
And we just never know because we saw the 49ers go through 2 quarterbacks. They're on their 3rd quarterback now, so you never know what can happen. I can't imagine a team who brought Jimmy Garoppolo back just for the sake of having depth and because they would get rid of Trey Lance just because they could and because they're getting offers. You just keep that depth.
It seems like to have success as a quarterback in the NFL these days, you have to be able to run around. And when you run around as a quarterback, you get hurt. So it's because I don't see any quarterbacks that just plant themselves in the pocket and have success like Peyton Manning used to. Jimmy tried, didn't work. I think you have to be able to extend plays, get out of the pocket because D linemen are just way too good. But then once you get outside the pocket, like it's just a matter of time before you get hurt. So how many quarterbacks really make it through 17 games? 10?
We've seen
not many.
Hurts get hurt. We've seen Mahomes got hurt. Of course, he's still going to play because it's playoffs. But case in point right there. Double B Studio, thank you for another donation. He says, I'm not being a homer, but Purdy outplays Jalen. Ooh, I know. It wasn't crazy to think that Purdy might outplay Dak. But yeah.
Could happen.
You know what? It could happen.
Jalen's hurt.
Yeah.
And he's hurt.
Jalen
Hurts is hurt.
No one's talking about that enough.
Yeah.
Do you think how much do you think that impacted him against the Giants? I think
it impacted him as a rusher. He got hurt
Yeah.
running. I don't think he's being particularly aggressive as a runner. I don't think he averaged that much yards per carry. I mean, he's still a threat, but I don't think he really wants the smoke against the Niners. You know what I'm saying?
Against the
So,
Niners, yeah.
yeah, I mean, he's going to be more of a decoy as a runner. I think he still ran 10 times, but I don't know how effective he'll be.
Good point. I mean,
Yeah.
that gives me some hope. And another one from Double B Studio here. Jalen will choke against this D. He will play bad. I mean, I think it's fair to say that this is the toughest test both quarterbacks are going to be facing. Like,
no doubt.
That's totally fair. And like, for all this talk of, well, the 49ers haven't played anyone, you could make the same argument
Absolutely.
probably about the Eagles too. So it's a moot point. And let's just call it what it is. These teams are part of the 4 best teams left.
They might be the 2 best teams left. I feel like it's kind of funny. You have fans on both sides trying to be like, they're not that good or they're not that good. It's like, nah, these are the 2 best teams in the league. Right. Both these teams are stacked. And what's other thing is funny, I see a lot of fans online like this week being like, just trying to argue that the Niners are better than the Eagles or vice versa. It's like, dog, they're going to play on Sunday. I promise. We will know. You don't have to spend all day on a Wednesday arguing about something that we're going to find out on Sunday. Go outside. Hang out with your kids. Something. You know what I mean?
I saw one of the best responses to that too. Someone was like, he thinks he's on the team. Yeah, you're going to play on Sunday. Okay.
Yeah. They will settle this. You'll watch. We'll figure it out. Yeah, we'll find out. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, Grant, thank you so much for coming on the show today. This has been awesome as always. Hopefully we get you on here soon again as well. And hopefully, we're each talking about a 49ers win come Sunday. But we'll just have to.
I wouldn't be mad. I don't root for the Niners to win, but I got to say I'd love to cover a Super Bowl. So if they lose, I'll be ready. But if they win, I'm secretly a little happy. I get to cover a freaking Super Bowl. How about that?
That is awesome. I mean, you were there last time too, right? So.
Yeah, but a lot has changed.
For you?
A lot has changed. Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while.
Followers,
Yeah, all that. That'd be fun. Yeah.
Right on, man. All right. Thank you so much, Grant. Thank you guys so much for watching, tuning in. Make sure you guys like this video. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't yet. Have a good rest of your Thursday. Peace.